Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Gary Talks. Our subject today is cult movies. I'm going to look at what my top 10 cult movies of all time are, and I have interviews with Oscar winner Jordan Peele, Dev Patel, and my friend Keith Coogan. But before we get to all that, I guess we have to figure out what exactly is a cult movie.
And now, another episode of Professor Gary's Knowledge Corner.
What is a cult movie? Well, I think it's easy to say that Star Wars is a cult movie because people love it. They dress up as it. I mean, Jedi is basically a religion, except then every person on the planet knows Star Wars, so that's probably not a cult movie. Big Lebowski. Big Lebowski most certainly was a cult movie in the 90s when it came out and no one knew about it, but now everyone knows Big Lebowski. There are conventions. People dress like the dude for Halloween. There's Lebowski Fest. So, Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is definitely a cult movie. I mean, look at the cast, the dialogue. It won an Oscar. So yeah, I don't think you can be an Oscar-winning movie and be a cult film. Plus, it made a lot of money. So what is a cult film? I mean, I guess it has to be something that the few people that know it love it, but not everybody knows it. But, you know, can it make money? Can it not make money? I guess it can't really make money. So no one's seen it, but people love it, and it made no money, but it's around. I don't know what a cult movie is. You're going to have to figure this one out on your own.
This has been another episode of Professor Gary's Knowledge Corner.
Well, that cleared up a lot, didn't it? Before I get to my ranking, though, I want to talk about a movie that just came out this year that I think is destined to be a future cult classic. And that movie is Monkey Man. Monkey Man has been called the Indian John Wick, and that's not really fair at all. Yes, it tells a story of revenge as an underground street fighter plots a rampage to avenge the crimes put upon his family by powerful people. But to reveal more would be to give away some of the surprises. It's currently available to watch on Peacock, and I highly recommend it, as it's sure to one day be a cult classic. I gotta tell you, I loved it. And here to talk about Monkey Man is the director, writer, and star of the movie, Dev Patel. Thank you so much for being on Gary Talks, and let me start by saying Monkey Man was amazing. I loved it. What inspired you to make this crazy, fun, action-filled movie?
I've long been a huge fan of the action genre, and this is kind of my humble offering, to a genre I love so much. I wanted to infuse it with some culture and social resonance. I along with, some cool kicks, punches, and the odd elbow here or there. But I felt a huge responsibility to not only, the kind of mythology that this story is based on, but, these incredible actors that came at a really trying time in history and gave me their all.
One thing I really loved about this movie that sets it apart from action movies like, say, John Wick, was how you really took your time to set everything up. The pacing was slow, was deliberate, until you finally got to that payoff. I thought it was a great choice.
It's not like your usual action flick that, just starts with action and keeps going. There is plotting and building and a world build, and it's pensive, and then it absolutely explodes in the second act, and it's absolute mayhem. And I think, we got this huge reception at this festival, South by Southwest. People were whooping and hollering and throwing popcorn at the screen, and I'd never seen anything like it. So I think it's a fun film.
Yeah, well, like I said, I loved it. Today on the show, we're discussing cult films, and looking at Monkey Man, I get a little bit of that vibe. Were there any cult movies that inspired you when you made it?
I grew up, I remember the first film that really captivated me. I snuck downstairs and watched Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon through the banister way past my bedtime. And I was utterly enthralled by this man with a similar pigment to me, dark hair, and he captivated me. I plastered his pictures all through my bedroom, and then that became my obsession with the action genre, from Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, Sammo Hung, then the Indonesian guys that did the raids, and then I got introduced to the Korean cinema, who, you know, they do revenge better than anyone. To take those kind of influences plus, you know, the kind of Bollywood cinema that my parents were also watching, and kind of like mash these things together to kind of make this, you know, kind of bombastic, strange cultural cocktail, which is me. Slightly awkward and unruly at times too, but with a lot of heart. I think that's what this film is. You know, at its core, it's an anthem for the underdog, you know, and the everyman, you know, who has to, you know, face so much adversity, so much failure, and, you know, supported by other underdogs is only when he realizes his true potential.
Well, I think we have a future cult classic on our hands with Monkey Man. Thank you so much. Now it's time to start the ranking, and we're going to start with number 10. It might be a movie that a lot of you have never heard of, unless you've ever been involved in theater at any level. It's the kind of movie that pretty much, if you've done theater, you know and probably love. That movie is Waiting for Guffman.
And I'll tell you why I can't put up with you people, because you're bastard people. That's what you are. You're just bastard people, and I'm going home and I'm gonna bite my pillow. Is what I'm gonna do.
Waiting for Guffman, directed by Christopher Guest, is a gem of a mockumentary that dives into the eccentric world of small-town community theater. The film follows Corky St. Clair, played brilliantly by Guest himself, as he directs a motley crew of locals in Blaine, Missouri, in a musical celebrating the town's sesquicentennial. The cast includes standout performances from Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Fred Willard, Parker Posey, and Michael Hitchcock, each bringing their quirky characters to life with charm and sincerity. The humor captures the absurdity of amateur theater without ever being mean-spirited. Christopher Guest's direction and the improvisational talent of the cast create an authentic, almost painfully relatable depiction of small-town aspirations and delusions of grandeur. Next up is a movie that stars crazy Nick Cage, so you know I love it. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. In Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, Nicolas Cage delivers a performance that's so unhinged it's like watching a hurricane rip through Vegas. Set in post-Katrina New Orleans, the film follows a drug-addled detective as he navigates a world of corruption, murder, and iguanas that may or may not be real. Herzog's direction is as madcap as Cage's acting, with the camera lingering on bizarre images like a guy's soul breakdancing or a pair of iguanas breaking into song. The plot is a chaotic mix of crime, addiction, and redemption, but it's the sheer audacity of the film that makes it unforgettable. And if you enjoy crazy Nick Cage like I do, this movie is definitely for you. Coming in at number 8 is a movie that was just remade earlier this year, and while I don't know if it was necessary, the remake was actually pretty good. That movie is Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead. Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead is one of the few movies on this list that you can watch with the whole family. The film stars Christina Applegate as Sue Ellen Crandall, a teenager suddenly thrust into adulthood when her summer plans are derailed by the sudden death of the babysitter while her mom is away. The supporting cast, including Keith Coogan as the mischievous brother Kenny, adds to the film's vibrant energy. Their antics, from disastrous household chores
Dishes are done, man.
to navigating corporate shenanigans, are both entertaining and endearing. The film's blend of outlandish scenarios and heartfelt moments creates a unique charm, making it both funny and surprisingly touching, and it has earned its rightful place as an all-time cult classic. And here to talk about the subject of cult movies is the star of that movie and my friend, Keith Coogan. Keith, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Gary. Amazing.
Well, we are here today to talk about cult movies. I know you're as big a movie fan as I am about stuff, and I just wanted to find out, what do you think makes a movie into a cult movie?
I think the definition is really subjective for people, because I don't think box office has any sort of thing to do with it. There are plenty of movies that have made money and made their money and are popular, but are also cult. If you see people cosplaying it, if they own the box set of every movie and the new media comes up and they buy it, doesn't that kind of signify kind of cult-like behavior? Genre, you start to go into any genre down a little rabbit hole, and any horror, sci-fi, they're going to have their own kind of cult following. So I think that for me, it's always something that had a little bit of outsider Hollywood creation. So it wasn't part of a studio system. Might be an independent film, a Corman movie, a Russ Myers film. It could be what Cox Repo Man.
Oh yeah, Alex Cox.
I think that fun can be part of it because you want to rewatch it. It can't be something terrible. No one go, but and you find friends through those films. You go, hey, I got something to show you. And it's usually other cinephiles, videophiles that are like, seen a lot of movies and know the history and everything like that. And they're like, oh, really? I don't know about that. My favorite thing is to share, because that's how I found some of my favorite cult movies, are friends who told me it stuck in a laser disc and showed it to me. I'm dating myself.
Besides being a massive film fan, you are also a movie star. You have been in countless films, and some of these films were huge. Some of them were not as huge, but have gained a cult following, and some are kind of like what you talked about, that were a big movie at the time and have just gained even more of a following over the years. So, as an actor, when you're doing one of these movies, do you ever think to yourself like, "Oh, this has something. This could be a cult movie"?
Dude, from the cast on the call sheet, from the director, the budget, the schedule, instantly if you're going to have resources or if you're not going to have resources. And some of the most interesting and creative things are done by directors who don't have resources.
Where in some movies they're just like, like Tammy and the T-Rex. They wrote the entire movie around like they just had that animatronic T-Rex.
I love Tammy and the T-Rex.
All right, well, we are going to get back to my countdown of movies, but I'm going to be back with you because I'm going to let you reveal what my number one cult movie of all time is, and I'm pretty sure it's your number one movie too. So we will be back with Keith Coogan in just a moment. Moving on to number 7 is a movie that really violates my personal rules for cult movies, but it doesn't violate pretty much the agreed upon rules for cult movies because it's the one that started it all, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is an iconic musical that has transcended its cult status to become a cultural phenomenon. Released in 1975, this film adaptation of Richard O'Brien's stage musical is a wild blend of science fiction, horror, and camp. The story follows the innocent couple Brad and Janet as they stumble upon the castle of the eccentric Dr. Frankenfurter, a role immortalized by Tim Curry. The film's infectious soundtrack featuring hits like Time Warp and Sweet Transvestite is a significant part of its lasting appeal. The music, combined with outrageous costumes and sets, creates a sensory feast that's both bizarre and captivating. The interactive midnight screenings, complete with audience participation, have cemented its status as a unique cinematic experience. And yeah, it's a cheat because it violates what I consider a cult movie, but you can't make this list and not include it. Now we'll go from a movie which had people who aren't known for singing, like Susan Sarandon singing, to a movie that has a singer who's not known for acting. That person is Weird Al Yankovic, and the movie is UHF.
I'll take the box! The box!
You took the box! Let's see what's in the box! Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
In UHF, Weird Al Yankovic takes us on a wild ride through the world of low-budget television, where anything goes and hilarity ensues. Kinda reminds me of my own life. The film follows George Newman, a daydreamer with a vivid imagination, who is given the opportunity to manage a struggling TV station. With the help of his friend Bob, George transforms the station into a success, with a lineup of wacky shows that only he could dream up. Michael Richards steals the show as Stanley Spadowski, a janitor turned children's show host with an infectious energy and childlike enthusiasm. UHF is a cult classic that has gained a dedicated following over the years. It's a film that celebrates the weird and wonderful world of television, and the power of imagination to bring joy and laughter to our lives. Before I reveal number 5, I want to say something a little bit interesting about this movie. Now, normally when a movie gains cult status, the writers, directors, stars, they might be maybe a little embarrassed that the movie is now remembered as a cult movie, but for the most part, they're pleased that people are still talking about their project. But not the next one. On multiple occasions, I've met one of the writers and stars of this movie, Bob Odenkirk, and each time I've brought the movie up, he shakes his head and doesn't want to talk about it. That movie is Run, Ronnie, Run. A spin-off of a popular Mr. Show character, Run, Ronnie, Run is a wild ride through the twisted mind of Ronnie Dobbs, a redneck with a knack for getting arrested. The film follows Ronnie as he becomes the star of his own reality show, where he gets drunk and gets into trouble in different cities across the country. The movie is filled with absurd humor, including a musical number about kicking a woman in the, well, you'll just have to watch and see.
Give her just a little kick in the cunt.
A kick in the cunt?
Ah, kick in the cunt.
As Ronnie becomes rich and famous, you get tons of celebrity cameos, and the movie is just unhinged and insane, and offers a biting commentary on fame and the absurdity of reality television. And you guys know that I know all about that. It's the kind of movie that when I first watched it, I didn't know if I liked it. Then I watched it with a group of friends, and suddenly, it was one of the most fun movies I have ever seen. If you went to college with me, then you know this movie because I talked about it all the time. I showed it in my dorm room constantly, and I tried to introduce every single friend of mine to it. Some of them liked it, some of them didn't. But you know what they are? They are no business born insecure rat soup eating motherfuckers! That's right. Number 4 is Dolomite.
Dolomite is my name, and fucking up motherfuckers is my game.
Dolomite was released in 1975 and is a blaxploitation classic.
You're off to a long, long vacation.
You no business born insecure junkyard motherfucker!
The great Rudy Ray Moore stars as Dolomite, a larger-than-life pimp framed by corrupt police officers and determined to reclaim his nightclub and exact revenge on those who wronged him, with the help of his kung fu fighting prostitutes. Moore's performance is the heart of the film. His charisma and comedic timing make Dolomite an unforgettable character. The film is packed with over-the-top action, outrageous dialogue, and a funky soundtrack that perfectly encapsulates the era.
That's for fucking with me, you no business born insecure motherfuckers!
While the production values are low, like none, and the plot is a bit disjointed, these elements add to the film's unique appeal and that DIY spirit. Here is where I get to enjoy the internet version of the show. Trust me, these lines were not featured on television.
Dance, motherfucker, dance! Dance! Girl, this motherfucker's got rhythm, haven't you?
I am Joe Blow, the lover man. You should be paying me, bitch.
Man, move over and let me pass. Supposed to have to be pulling these hush puppies out your motherfucking ass.
Fuck yeah. Earlier in the show, I was talking about the future cult classic Monkey Man. And before I get to my top 3 cult movies, I wanted to talk a little bit more about that movie. With the producer, Jordan Peele. You are an established and esteemed writer and director, yet you produced this movie for Dev. What made you want to help him get this movie made?
What I'm really drawn to in this film is the theme of revenger becoming an avenger. This is a story that gets us on board emotionally with the drive of vengeance, which is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful force in film. And it does it so well. He gets you on board with such on such a personal and emotional mission, and with a character of such humility that all we want to do is see him succeed.
I mean, I loved it. I thought it was original and it was fresh. Today's episode on Gary Talks, we're talking all about cult movies. Why do you think that Monkey Man is destined to one day be a cult classic?
When people watch Monkey Man, I know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of, oh, ho, what? Yo, no. Oh! There's gonna be a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had the same reaction. Okay, now put on your producer hat for me, and I want you to sell Monkey Man to my audience.
It's got incredible action. It's got amazing heart. It's got a fascinating message. It's got a vibe like you've never seen. And it's got Dev Patel like you've never seen him. And he's a movie star. And he's one of the great directors in a first-time film that I've seen. So you gotta be there in the theaters with the big sound, with the big explosions, get the visceral violence the way Dev and I want you to get it. That's the way to do it.
And that's why you are the producer. I think you sold it well. Thank you so much for being a part of Gary Talks. The funny thing is, I know that he was doing interviews for like 6 hours talking about Monkey Man, and he still brought it. That guy is a pro. But speaking of someone who maybe isn't a pro, is the writer, director, producer, and star of my number 3 movie, Tommy Wiseau. That movie is The Room.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
The Room is basically an experience that cannot be described. It's a movie that's so bad it's good, with a cult following that now rivals the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
The plot, if you can call it that, revolves around Johnny, a banker with a mysterious accent, and his fiancée Lisa, who is cheating on him with his best friend, Mark. The acting is wooden, the dialogue makes zero sense, and the sex scenes are plentiful. But somehow it all comes together to create a movie that's impossible to look away from.
Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
You'll laugh, you'll cringe, and you'll wonder how something so terrible could be so entertaining.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Coming in at number 2 is the only movie on my list that I watch each and every year. On October 31st, you can guarantee that I'll be watching Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat, directed by actor Charles Martin Smith, is a horror comedy that taps into the heavy metal subculture of the 80s with a mix of camp and supernatural thrills. The film follows Eddie Weinbauer, a high school outcast and metalhead, who idolizes rock star Sammy Kerr. When Sammy dies in a mysterious fire, Eddie discovers an unreleased album that, when played backwards, unleashes the vengeful spirit of Sammy, and the music of Fastway. Cameos by rock icons Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne add a fun, nostalgic touch, though their roles are brief. The special effects are very 80s, with practical effects and pyrotechnics that add to the film's retro charm. Its quirky premise, combined with one of the greatest soundtracks ever made, makes it a unique entry in the horror genre, and it's a yearly watch for me. Instead of me telling you what number 1 is, I'm going to let my friend Keith Coogan reveal the greatest cult movie of all time. Keith, what do you think that I think and you think is the number 1 cult movie of all time?
So is it Buckaroo Banzai?
It is Buckaroo Banzai. I think it is the full definition of what is a cult movie to me. You know, it's the kind of movie that if they wanted you to do the elevator pitch, you better be in the elevator to the Empire State Building.
No matter where you go, there you are.
In the wild and wacky world of the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension, we follow our hero, a neurosurgeon, rock star, and all-around Renaissance man, as he battles interdimensional aliens with his trusty team, the Hong Kong Cavaliers. Peter Weller shines as Buckaroo, bringing the perfect blend of charm, intelligence, and deadpan humor. The supporting cast is equally impressive, with John Lithgow chewing the scenery as the deranged Dr. Emilio Lizardo. It also features Ellen Barkin, Jeff Goldblum, and many others. The film is a delightful mix of genres, blending sci-fi, action, comedy, and even a bit of romance. It's a non-stop ride from start to finish, with a plot that's as convoluted as it is entertaining, making it my favorite cult movie of all time. So I had gone to see some movie. I for some reason, I think it's Rhinestone with Stallone and Dolly Parton, and they had the trailer for Buckaroo Banzai before it. And I don't know if you remember the trailer, but it basically was just that final scene of the movie, the closing credits where they're all walking together as the song plays. And that was the entire credits. And it completely, I was captivated. And I was like, I can't wait to see this movie. And then, of course, it never came to my little small town movie theater. And then finally, I found it on VHS. It was one of those Columbia House 12 VHS for a penny that I still haven't paid for. And I watched that over and over and over again. And every time I tried to show it to somebody, they never understood it.
They drop you, in media res right at the rocket thing into the mountain, and the audience doesn't know what's going on. He veers off course, and we're just as surprised as the other technicians. Are like, where is he going?
Yeah.
As every new layer of exposition on him adds to the karate rock star thing, and then we bring the gang together. Perfect Tommy, and I read that the actor for Perfect Tommy loved the jacket he tried on so much, but it didn't fit. So he lost 25 pounds to play Perfect Tommy, so that he'd wear that jacket
with no
Jeff
shirt.
Goldblum was like long considered in a part of it. It's just amazing how it all came together. Ellen Barkin, hello.
Ellen Barkin.
And, what's ahead of its time, and what I think cult, and I thought about this just before the interview, is cross genre, but it's stuff you just don't think, like horror comedy or thriller or action comedy. I think is pretty four quadrant. But it's when you go off into those sideways. It's a vampire comedy, Once Bitten or Rockula or whatever. Those kinds of things are where I think it starts to enter cult status, because if it is weird, and general audiences, families, they go on Easter, let's go see a movie, and they happen to go to one of the theaters that is carrying Buckaroo Banzai, dude, they're going to be lost. And the point of that movie is not structure. It's not Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. It is, though. It still follows all those things. It just doesn't spoon feed you any sort of exposition. It uses bizarre jargon and lingo and language, and creates its own universe.
If there's a line from a cult movie that everyone knows, there's obviously from Buckaroo Banzai, wherever you go, there you are. But I would ask, right before we end this interview, if you would do me the honor of saying the classic cult line from one of my favorite all-time cult movies, "Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead."
The dishes are done, man.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Keith Coogan, for being here on Gary Talks. As always, I enjoy talking to you, and we will catch up together soon.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hopefully there were a few movies here that maybe you hadn't heard of, you look for, you check out, and you like. I'd like to thank my special guests, Jordan Peele, Dev Patel, Keith Coogan, and all of you for watching. Please check out GaryTalks.tv. It's got links to all my socials, audio versions of the podcasts, different videos, things like that. Just if you like the show, I think you'll like it. And be sure and join me right here next week for another episode of Gary Talks.
From capes to tapes, Gary's on the case. He's breaking down each scene, every place. On Gary Talks, he's quick with his peculiar wit. From plot twists to the comic strips, Gary's flipping sick.
Number 4 is for all you rat soup eating motherfuckers. Dolomite.
What the hell did that rat soup eating motherfucker want with me?
Obviously, that's the internet version.